We're asked to find the inverse of the function f of x equals 1 minus 1 over 1 times x. Now this is in the form y equals mx plus b, and the slope here will be negative 1 and the y-intercept will be 1. So we could write it like that if we wanted. And that'll be easy to graph. That'll just be a line with a y-intercept of 1 and a slope of negative 1. So we'll go down 1 to the right 1 and down 1 to the right 1. And we can do that as many times as we want. And we will generate this line. Now we know that this is a one-to-one function since this will pass the vertical line test and the horizontal line test. So passing the vertical line test tells us that it is a function. Passing the horizontal line test tells us that it is a one-to-one function. And one-to-one functions have inverses that are functions. So in order to find the inverse, we would begin by swapping the x and the y. So we would have x equals minus y plus 1, and then solve for y. So if we move the y to the right and the x to the left by adding y to both sides and subtracting x from both sides, we wind up with y equals minus x plus 1. So the inverse then, f inverse of x for this particular function would be minus x plus 1. Now we see that that's exactly the same as the function that we started with. Now why would that be? Well, we recall that the inverse of a function, if we graph it, will be the reflection through the line y equals x of the original function. So if we were to graph the line y equals x, we would wind up with this line. And we can see that this line f of x equals minus x plus 1 is actually a reflection of itself through that line. So we can verify graphically that we have the correct inverse. Let's verify algebraically, and we would do that by finding f of f inverse of x. What we should find is just x. So f of f inverse means that everywhere we have an x in f, we will put the inverse function. So we would find f of minus x plus 1. And when we put that in the original function, 1 minus 1 over 1 x, we would wind up with 1 minus 1 over 1 times minus x plus 1. And of course, 1 over 1 is just 1, so we have 1 minus, and we'll distribute this 1, and we'll actually wind up with plus x minus 1. The 1's will cancel, and we'll wind up with x, just as we thought we should.